Let's take someone with a random account, with a random name that just seems attractive.
Play live online against the world's top chess players while they stream their thoughts live. As a Chess24 Premium member, seize the chance to have your moment of fame. Get a peek inside their lives with question and answer sessions, in-depth teaching, analysis and interviews. The Champions Chess Tour, with countless accompanying events, is happening now. Tune in on Chess24.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to another Banter Blitz session. This is Sam Shankland here. And, yeah, let's get started. So I'm going to be doing my best to keep up with the chat a little bit better today, but I'm still probably going to be pretty bad at it because that's not what I'm good at. But I will try. So first thing I see, somebody is asking about when the RAS will be finished. I have already finished the course and sent it in. It just needs to go through editing and then filming. All right, so let's start playing with some guys. I see this guy's pretty high rated. Let's play with Diego Jimenez. So yeah, good luck to Diego Jimenez, and let's see if I can cause you any damage. I will just keep playing my Chessable courses because that's what I do. So I'm just going to give a link to the chat and for everybody what the courses, where the courses are, but yeah, I'm literally just playing my Chessable repertoire. Usually works pretty well. So this guy is playing the Exchange Slav, which for a long time was only just played by massive chickens, but nowadays it's a bit more feisty than it used to be, and some pretty good guys who are actually like ambitious chess players are playing it. But A4 I don't understand at all. So let's just keep developing. I think now white has weakened his queenside. He actually has to maybe even worry about knight b4, but probably not. But this position, maybe he mouse slipped a3, but like, I think that black is quite comfortable here. For example, I have this lovely square from b4 for my bishop, which he doesn't get to have. All right, so I don't really want to let him play knight h4, so we'll start with h6. Sure, rook c1, but this bishop is just so nice on b4. Yeah, so let's go. I guess that's a pretty good move. Maybe I can just take it. Not sure though. The problem is, actually, I say a good move. I'm gonna go queen b6. I like this. I was thinking of queen a5, but then he can take on c6 and go knight a2, and c6 is hanging as well as my bishop on b4, and here I'm ready to play rook fc8 next. I don't particularly mind taking with the b pawn on c6 if his pawn is on a4, because I think he's just as weak on the b file as I am on c6. All right, so he wants to trade white squared bishops. I think I'm okay with that. But maybe I should start with taking on c3. Take on c3. Does he have to take with the pawn? Probably not. Bishop c3, rook c3, queen b2, rook b3. He's good to go. Let's just take this bishop and start to play a bit faster. It's probably a good place to start. Yeah, I can't play... Oh, this is a faster game too, so I've got to really pick up the pace a bit. But here black should be very comfortable because his bishop on f4 is totally aimless, and now I'm in better shape to fight for the open file than he is. Case in point, let's start with rook c4. I was thinking I could maybe even take on c3 and take on b2, but let's start with rook c4 is calmer. And I'm ready for like queen a5 next, and then that's a good move. That's an annoying move. Yeah, okay, so now I just have to take this, and even this though, I still think I'm better. I mean, his bishop is just so bad. It looks nice, but it does absolutely nothing, and if I can go like queen c6 or something, okay, so he does that, I think I can get away with taking this one. Because queen d7, I take a2, if he goes queen e8, I have queen a3, And so, yeah, but now I'm a pawn up, and once my queen comes to a3, he can't do any bishop d6, and I think my pawn just starts running, so I'm probably basically winning here. I don't see what he can do with his bishop, and I will go and promote the pawn. So now I can even trade the queens, and I got this. All right, so exchange Slav, a big part of it with black is just being patient. A lot of people who are really hoping to play for a win with black will get frustrated because the position just looks so boring. But one important thing is you don't want to fear a boring position when you play for a win with black. You just have to be patient. So here, I'm just trying to think the best way is probably to bring my king closer to the king side, actually. So yeah, here g5, and now I'm going to make a second weakness. And if I can open the king side, I should be able to win the game pretty routinely. So yeah, I'll stick with the king so that I can get to h4. And this should be routinely winning. So let's go h5, get the h4 square for my king, and then start playing f6 and e5 and making another passed pawn. So yeah, let's go f6, e5. I'll probably just, okay, well, not promote, but if he had let me play e4, that wouldn't have saved him either. Okay, so good game to Diego Jimenez. Let's find someone else who wants to play. This guy I don't think I've played with, and he's very high rated. I'm in the mood for a challenge, so. Orest Vovk, let's have some fun, good luck. Oh, he's trolling me with the h6. If I lose this, I'll be very embarrassed. Oh no, I could never show my face again. Alright, so obviously this is not a very serious opening and doesn't strike me as wildly nice behavior, but it's fine. Okay, so let's start with knight g2. I'm probably playing this really badly, but that's okay. Sure, knight bd7, and I guess let's go h4 now. Probably has to play g4. Yeah, I mean, he really should play g4 here. If he lets me take hg5, it's bad news. Yeah, so that's as expected, but I think I can take this one and then mate knight f6 with g5. So he goes for knight b6 instead. That makes sense, but I still think I'm just better after knight g3, and then bishop g4, bishop e2, and I might just castle short and crush the f-file and the f5 square, but I don't know. I'm playing this pretty badly compared to what I would have liked. If I end up losing to this ridiculous opening, I'm gonna be mad at myself, but what can you do? And here knight f5 is coming. He cannot castle because of queen g4, so it still looks pretty good for me. Even if I've probably not played it as nicely as I could have. Alright, so knight f6, sure. How do I want to handle this? If knight f5, bishop f8, he's sort of getting away with castle long next move. Maybe just start with bishop d2. And, oh, but now queen b4, yeah. Well, queen b4, knight d5 is not so bad for me. In fact, it's good. Queen b2, bishop c3. My play this game has been really bad, but that's okay. Alright, so let's take this queen and castle long. I still think I'm slightly better here, even though I've played it like an absolute dunce. Knight g4, sure, so I guess I have to go knight f5 to keep everything under control. I think he probably has to play bishop f8. Yeah, there he goes, rook f1. I've played this so badly, but at least I'm up on time, which is a little unusual for me when I'm bantering. Knight c4. That's fine. I'm quite happy bringing my king to d3. This is not the middle game. I'm not going to get mated by that dark scored bishop. Sure, so knight e3. And then my king is active all of a sudden. He has some counterplay, of course, but I'm still reasonably confident here. g3, and now once I bring my knight to a square like h5, he's not going to be able to do very much. So he goes for that. I guess I can play e5. If he plays c5, I should be able to get c4 in some capacity. Alright, so f6. Makes sense. Let's go knight f4. I really don't like the way I've played this, but I still think I'm probably slightly better here. So let's how do I handle this? I'll start with c4 is fine. Yeah, so here my thought was he doesn't really have a great way to make further progress. Maybe he will educate me, but when I go rook d4, he's not going to be able to sacrifice on h4. I can start playing rook a4 next, and yeah, this was sort of my thought. But it's not wildly convincing, because I still can't really take that pawn very easily because of bishop h4. But now he's running out of time. So let's go a3. I guess he has bishop c3 here, yeah? That's a bit annoying. Let's go king g2. He plays bishop e5. And my thought was here I had some funny business, but I think I actually don't. Yeah, so I was hoping for knight d3, but there's just rook g3. Which is really bad. So I'm just busted. Is there any way to... Okay, I guess I have to try king e2, bishop f4, and rook a5, and I'm probably lost here, but I can sort of fight. Now I'm definitely not lost anymore. Now I'm okay. So check. Let's go check, and now here I actually might have not such a bad position. Check, and let's take this one and go b4. King f3 and b5, yeah. So this should be a draw, but I'm probably going to win on time. But yeah, okay. I didn't mean to flag him. I was trying to offer a draw at the end, but anyhow, if somebody's going to play h6, g5 against me, I don't feel particularly bad about showing bad sportsmanship against them. So next up, let's play with Steen. So what have we got? All right, so let's show the classical Sicilian repertoire I've been working on. We'll see if I get to show it. I'm done with the repertoire, but it hasn't been filmed yet. I don't know when it's going to come out, maybe May or something. But let's see if I can remember any of it and cause any damage to this fella. So one nice thing about the classical Sicilian is that you get to go g6, bishop g7 against white's non-critical tries in a way that you couldn't in the Najdorf. And so now we've just transposed back to a dragon, but by using the classical Sicilian move order, I have avoided any hope of the Yugoslav attack for white. And I think that black is very comfortable in these positions. So a3 I don't really understand. I'm going to go a6. And I think black just has a very comfortable position here already. I already prefer black, although objectively it's probably equal. Knight d5, does that threaten anything I care about? Can I take on e4? Knight e4, knight c6, bishop c6, bishop b6, queen d7, and I don't see it. Let's just take on e4 and find out. I'm not in the mood to work too much harder than that. So my thought was here after bishop b6, queen d7, I just have it all under control. Knight b6 instead. Sure. Let's go rook b8, and I don't see it. I think I'm just a pawn up. Sure, alright, so knight back to f6, safety first, I'm ready for knight d7, expel this knight, and then I'm a pawn up. Alright, so knight d7 as planned, get rid of that knight. And now I'm just about consolidating with extra material. He probably should play bishop d4 and then put his rooks in the center and try to argue that he has some pressure against my pawns and maybe get rid of the dark squared bishop. But bishop d4 I can probably just go e5. And so he really wants this square. That's fine. I think a bishop there is much less annoying than a knight and should be easily kicked away. I'm ready for like bishop c6 next, and then queen b5 or rook c6 or whatever, and it should just be winning. Alright, rook e1, let's just safety first. Probably could have done something a bit more bold, but this is quite fine with me. And now it's sort of too late for bishop d4, because I have bishop takes f3, queen f3, bishop d4, which forces the d file closed, then after c takes d4, and like rook c2 or rook c4 or something, it should just be gone. Alright, so that lets his kingside structure get shattered, which will not help him very much. If queen c6, there's queen f2, so why don't I start with rook c4? I'm ready for like queen c6 and rook c8, and white is absolutely lost. Okay, so good game, Steen. See who else wants to play. King of the Nil, let's play with you. Playing more 3-minute games today than I remember. Alright, so let's keep playing the chessable repertoire against everybody until it fails. Or until I can't remember it anymore. Okay, so this is definitely chessable still. e4. All of this is in my course, and now what am I supposed to play? I think it's a4. Knight e5 and say h3. Right, so he goes g5, and now I think the big point is I start with rook e1. The key well, g4 already. That I'm a little surprised by. I can't really remember this stuff very well, but that'll be okay. So take this. Knight f g4. So let's go knight f1 and go for bishop f4 to g3. I think that should solidify my kingside reasonably well. But I'm totally misremembering my stuff, which is not good, especially in such a sharp variation. Alright, so queen h4. He threatens checkmate, so I have to do something like... yeah, I don't really have many options here. If knight g3, I'm kind of scared of knight takes f2 and knight g4, bishop d4 stuff. But also knight g3, I can't move, so I gotta go g3. This is really ugly, but maybe I will survive. So here if I play f3, knight takes f3, bishop takes f3, I'm probably crushed. So I'm gonna go rook a3 and get this rook ready in advance to come back to the defense, and I don't know, this is why the Benoni sucks. I've played this about as badly as you possibly could with white, like really, really badly, and I still think I'm like probably doing just fine. Like this is like the best possible Benoni black could ever get against the biggest idiot in the world, and like I have a lot of squares under control. I'm ready for knight b5, and like I don't see how he's easily going to increase the attacking pressure. So like, yeah, let's go knight b5. I mean, I cannot begin to stress how badly I've played this game, and I still think I'm probably better here. Okay, so a takes b5, and now without that bishop, I mean, Say I go bishop f4 now. I guess he has knight g6, but bishop takes d6, and I don't really believe this can be that bad for me. King of the Nil is a future French GM. Yeah. He's pretty good. I mean, I like that he's playing aggressively, but I think it's not that impressive the way it's done. Okay, so I guess I should take on d6. In general, that's a good rule of thumb in the Benoni. Rook e4, sure. So if I play bishop c5, I think I have things sort of under control. If rook e8, I'm ready with bishop takes g4. Maybe bishop takes g4 actually isn't great. Bishop g4, if hg, rook e5, rook e5, rook e3, knight e5, knight h2. It's scary, but I think I'm okay, so I'm going to give it a try. Take, I think he has to play hg4. And then my thought was rook e4, rook e3, and if he goes knight e5, I have knight h2. And it's very scary, but I think I have it under control. And at some point, my d-pawn will go. So rook c4, sure, but just think, how do I do this? d6, d7 is not great. He can take it. I guess just take on a7 just to get the bishop somewhere. Bishop h6, that should lose. I can take on e5, I give the queen, and then push the d-pawn, and his queen is totally out of play, and he has no counterplay, so that should be good. The d-pawn will go through. Alright, so let's go make a new queen. And okay, bring the queen to h4 seems easy enough, or let's just go bishop d4 is probably even simpler. Alright, so takes, check, check. Alright, are we still playing this game? Guess we are. Okay, here. d5. Alright, let's just be nice and simple. Alright, so good game, King of the Nil. This is sort of shows, literally I played like the worst possible game against the Benoni and still got a decent position. Yeah, alright, Jim Sprout, let's play with you. In the meantime, I'll just spam my course links in the chat once more in case people are interested. Alright, Classical Sicilian coming up. So one nice thing about the Classical Sicilian is the ability to play knight c6 on move 2. If you want to play the knight or if you can't really do that. So let's go knight f6. If e5, I have d5. Alright, so here. And now let's start with a6. I believe it's important to include this move first. And then I'm trying to remember exactly how this goes. I think this is fine. And then if castle, I go d5. I think this is supposed to be okay. No, there's d3 in the picture as well. How does this work? It's d3, this is... Yeah, this is fine. I'm ready to castle, it's no big deal. There is some tricky line, e5, e5, knight d5, knight d5, knight d4, c4, queen h5, but it doesn't work here because bishop e6, rook e1, and I'm in time to castle. There is a variation like that with, so yeah, this guy goes bishop back to a2, and this is just extremely boring position, but let's, I guess, take on e2 and castle. Of course, this is very boring, but it's part of chess. So e5, at least now his bishop is really bad on a2. Like a position like this one, if his bishop were on g2, I think white would just be better, but the bishop on a2 is misplaced. Alright, so let's reroute this knight to c6, where I think it will be pretty annoying for him. Yeah, white's pieces are just sort of uncoordinated. All right, so knight b1 makes actually a fair amount of sense to play c3, but let's now start gaining space on the queen side with b5. Yeah, I'm not sure about taking it. Now his bishop is like really stuck. It's like if I go c4, for example, his bishop is almost permanently stuck. So like if he plays d4 here, like strategically I would be completely busted if not for his bishop on a2 being unable to move. In fact, I think b4 just wins a piece right here. I don't see how he's gonna... Like if he could go bishop b1 and like somehow not lose a rook, like I would be completely crushed. But as is, it all comes down to that one bishop on the wrong square, and here I think I'm just winning a piece. I mean, he has to sacrifice on c4 or something. It's just not going to be even close to good enough. Maybe he can try queen h5 with the point that if b3 there's bishop b1, but even there just g6. What about bishop takes h7, check, someone asks? Well, then white will be down a piece instead of a rook. But okay, so Jim Sprout just resigns. I don't know. I think he could have sacked a piece for 2 pawns and kept playing, but... Alright. Mr. DrunkenMeister, I like your name. Let's play with you. Alright, so let's keep playing the chessboard repertoire. Don't take on d5. Alright, good. We got someone with a bit more fire in the belly. Alright, so knight bd2 is... I think here bishop e7 makes a lot of sense. If I recall, the bishop on e7 is well placed against knight bd2, but not so much against knight c3. The reason is, like, once he goes bishop b2 here, the bishop on d6 really doesn't do much because I can't ever really fight for e5. But here I can just go b6, and the problem for white is that as soon as he ever plays e4, I will just go d takes e4, and then knight takes e4, c5, pointing out that I'm not particularly concerned about a hanging bishop on d6. So let's blunt his bishop with g6 first, and then I'm going to play c5 next, I think. So if e4, I have d e4, knight e4, c5. When I think black is quite comfortable. Alright, so he goes a3, but now c5 comes. As I know, this is not exactly the most interesting position, but I think it's also pretty clear black is very much fine. So... bishop c3 I don't really get. Maybe he wants queen b2, but I don't think he's going to checkmate me, so I'm not worried about it. So I think now I can start to mess up his structure a bit, because if he takes with a piece on d4, if he takes with a bishop, I have dc4 and b5 follows. Yeah, so here, now the problem is he sort of has hanging pawns, but I get to choose when to give them to him, and which means he's not going to get like some fancy d5 move in. Alright, so let's reroute this bishop around to g7 to keep the king nice and safe. To always play bishop f1, I gave bishop d7 against bishop b5 check. It wasn't what I was actually planning, but I wanted to give knight d7, and then I started checking some lines and kept running into trouble, and I thought I found a much easier solution in bishop d7, but it's interesting. Alright, so we've already seen a knight come to b8 and c6 today, so let's do it again. And I think this knight on c6 is now a fantastic piece, and strategically white is in very bad shape. Alright, so I'm going to take this one now and open the game for my pieces, and now knight takes e5. If rook e5, I have knight d5. If c d5, I have knight d5. Queen g5 is coming, and white is falling apart. Alright. Man, I feel like I've misspoken like 5 times today. I can barely even speak English anymore. Alright, so that's probably the best move, but it won't save him. Queen g5 and bishop d5, and black is a clean pawn up with a fantastic pair of bishops and mating threats, so this should be basically over. Yeah, that's not going to help. That's only going to let white's king get opened up even further. I guess he can play knight e4 here, though, and it's... Yeah, so he's not just going to get mated here, but he is totally lost strategically. So let's start with bishop f8, hit that a3 pawn, and hopefully reroute this bishop somewhere a bit more intelligent. So let's go queen e8, hit the pawn again, get ready for this bishop to come around to c5. And I'm not only a pawn up, but my bishop is going to be much better than his as well. That's not going to help you much, but I don't think the position was particularly attractive anyway. Okay, so good game, Mr. DrunkenMeister. See who else wants to play. Let's play with BenditlikeKarpov. Guess that's a play on the Bend It Like Beckham movie. I remembered liking that movie when I saw it when I was a kid. Alright, so let's keep playing my my repertoire. So knight f3. Yeah, so here I gave e4. They normally play bishop b4, yeah. So I sacrificed this pawn on e4 for quick development. And let's see how greedy he gets. Okay, so does he play bishop e7? Yeah, so here my big idea was bishop f4, which is a very rare move that I came up with in the course. It's been played like only once or twice, but I think it's actually really challenging for black to deal with. I couldn't mate the computer in all of these lines, but it's pretty tough. So basically here what's going to happen is I'm going to play bishop d3, which will attack his h7 pawn. If he plays g6, then h4, h5 comes. If he plays h6, then queen d2 comes, and he's going to get sacrificed on in his face. And yeah, so that I don't think makes very much sense. Let's start with rook a d1, get this rook to a nice square, and threaten d5. He doesn't believe me. d5 looks incredibly tempting here. d5, bishop d5, he has to play queen e8 and then rook fe1, and he can barely move. Let's go d5. Why is e4 generally considered sharper than d4? It's a more forcing move. I don't think it's a better move. I think e4 and d4 have relatively equal chances of fighting for an advantage. I think that if white wants to fight for an edge early in the game, his best chance is to play reasonably sharp, but not like crazy sharp chess. And so I think you have to sort of blend more forcing moves with less forcing moves to pull that off. So e4 might be the more forcing move. But if you look at the best lines within e4, they're usually not the most aggressive ones. The same way if you look at the best lines within d4, they're usually pretty direct because you need that healthy balance. All right, so here, I feel like I should be crushing him somehow, but it's not easy to see. Let's just start with bishop g5 because his queen doesn't have a great place to go. Knight g5 is tempting, but I couldn't see the win after h6. So yeah, here rook fe1, and now I'm down a pawn, but look at his queenside pieces, and here I'm getting my pawn back and taking a kingside pawn at that, so I should be in very good shape. How many languages do I speak? Maybe like 2 1/4. I would like English is obviously my first language, born and raised in the United States. My French is maybe like a 9 out of 10, and my Spanish is maybe a 3 or a 4, so I guess I speak like 2 1/4 languages. Yeah, I worked for Magnus at some point, so I helped him prepare for the match with Karyakin and the second match with Anand. Yeah, I'm just realizing I missed a pretty direct win. I should have just played rook e4, rook h4, but this is still very bad for black. So I'll start with this, and then bishop f3, and the bishop on e5 is hanging, and black's position is just falling apart. He has to play... No, did I just literally just hang a piece for dead nothing? Oh boy, it's gonna be a long day, guys. I literally just hung a piece for dead nothing. Alright, let's go h4 and try to harass this queen to some degree, but yeah, not my day. It's okay. We all have those days. I literally just hung a piece, like for literally nothing. And no, guys, my Spanish is really bad. Like, I live in Bay Area, California, so like there's lots of Mexicans here. I constantly shop at the Mexican grocery store and stuff. So that's so I learned some Spanish colloquially like that. I can't even speak English today either. But it's very cursory Spanish. I mean, I can go to the Mexican grocery store and order food and stuff, but that's about it. So yeah, why am I even playing this game? I'm just down a piece. Boy. We all want to hear your Spanish? No, we all don't want to hear my Spanish. Es malísimo. Plus the Spanish I know, I think like my contract states that I'm supposed to behave well in some way, and if I said the Spanish I know, I would be in clear violation of that contract. But yeah, here I'm literally just down a piece. I probably should just resign, but I don't know, for some reason I feel like keep playing. I guess he has no time, so that is one reason that I might be able to fight on. So I guess here he can give a check on e1 and meet queen e1, rook e1, king g2 with bishop e5, and that's probably good enough. But he's really getting low on time, so maybe I'm not dead yet. Alright. You know you're having a bad day when you have to resort to flagging people like who are rated 1,000 points lower or playing h6, g5 against you. But yeah, okay. Now actually I think I'm gonna survive. This is wait, now I'm winning. Wow. What a game we play. Yeah, of course I wasn't supposed to win this game. If you drop a piece for dead nothing, you're supposed to lose, but sometimes chess isn't fair. Sometimes life isn't fair, and I'm sorry for BenditlikeKarpov, but today life wasn't fair for you. Alright, who else do we have that wants to play? Alright, let's play with Vovk. Good luck to you. En el chat todos quieren entender mi español. No, mi español es malísimo. No quieres le entender porque hablo malísimo. But yeah, okay, this guy is not here, so let's abort. Let's is this Lily? Okay, Lily, why don't you bust me? Yeah, guys, I know that was particularly exaggerated American accent, but all right, let's see if Lily can crush the Shankland repertoire. All right. Okay, so this move order, I think we can play e3. So let's go here. Bishop d3 is fine, I think, and then castle. And the whole premise of the Stonewall is you need to not let white get the bishop to not let white neutralize the bishop on d6, which is what black has so far managed to do. But the problem is, because I was able to put my knight on c3 rather than d2, I can retreat this knight back to e2, and now I will be able to slam my knight into e5. And black's position is skeptical, or very bad, I would just say, if I can neutralize the bishop, which I've now managed to do. I've also expelled the knight. And now I should be doing very well, because the whole point for black was that there's attacking chances based upon this bishop on against this bishop on d6. And someone's saying, in the repertoire, don't I play for long castle and f5? No, not really. That's only if black plays knight h6 instead of knight f6, and Lily has played knight f6 instead. So it's somewhat different in that regard. Now, she should probably throw g5 at me here, just because I think the position's very bad otherwise, but I don't believe it will work. Once white gets the knight to e5 like this, black's attack is sort of over before it starts, and then you should be in pretty good shape. All right, so let's tempting moves, but let's start with knight g3 and hopefully fight for e4 maybe. I actually have a devilish trick here. We'll see if she sees it. I mean, thematically, black wants to play h5 now, but I don't think she can. Okay, so f4, and this feels very wrong to me, because now I should be able to take this pawn and potentially gang up on it. So first of all, if queen takes f4, I'm not scared of very much, but I think I can just duck the knight back, and I should be able to gang up on this pawn without a ton of trouble. She will have to play like knight h5 or something. But let's say I go king h1, and I'm not even that far away from just throwing rook g1 and g4. Oh, there I am, just hanging more pawns every day. Like, it's just... And she doesn't take it, though, so that's nice. Okay, let's go rook e1, make sure that I'm not too scared of her taking on e5. She still could, but after... Okay, so now knight d4, and start attacking stuff. As long as I don't get mated by knight g3, which I think I should be okay against, I'm gonna be alright. Because she cannot get the queen to h6. Yeah, so there, let's go knight b5, harass this bishop a bit. I'm playing this game so badly as well, but yay, finally trade black squared bishops. That would really make me happy. Wait, did I just mate myself? Bishop d3, knight g3, queen h6? Yeah, I think I did. Oh, well, okay, it's not mate. I can give my rook, but it's pretty bad. Yeah, so let's see. HG, queen h6, check, king g1, fg. That really looks like mate. Rook f2 I can play, but... Yep, gotta give my rook. Oh, well. But even this, funnily enough, isn't that terrible for me, I don't think. Because my knight will get to d6. So, man, I have hung more pieces today, or like more basic things today than I can ever remember doing. I don't know what's wrong with me. All right, so that's a good move. Let's start with queen d3 to control the c2 square. I've been hanging so many pieces today, it's just ridiculous. Alright, so then my thought was my knight's actually better on d4 than it is on d6, and case in point that I've managed to turn the tables with my stupid tricks. So take, and now I should be good to go again. So if I've somehow survived this one as well, I've just been leading a charmed life, but... Alright, so queen d4 and go take the f4 pawn. Okay, good game, Lily. Juegas muy fuerte. Yo soy lucky. Porque no jugo bueno. Juegas jugador mejor que migo. So let's see who's next. Let's go with Pudsel. Man, I cannot begin to express how badly I'm playing today. What did I recommend here? Knight f3, I think. And then e3. This is the trustable repertoire if I can remember it at all. There, but can't I go d5 and harass your knight? That's not gonna work. I've fallen from my trickery. I mean, the whole point of this opening wasn't just to trick black like that, but it's nice that you can win in 5 moves if your opponent's not careful. But I think e3 is a very good move anyway. It stops any pawn doubling business, and here, so let's say check, and then dc6, and it should be over. Black can maybe try a6, but then c7 check. Yeah, this I think is supposed to just lose for black. Castle's long, there is cb7, knight c6. Take the rook, take the bishop. I just have way too many pieces for the queen. Yeah, so now I go cb7 and knight c6 is coming. But maybe black could have played a6 there actually, because cb7, ab5, the rook is defended. I don't know. a6, a6 maybe I could have played b4. But yeah, this game, now I've got it, but I don't know. I'm just sort of playing like a knucklehead every game today, and so I'm not trusting myself that I will win this. But check, and now I take the rook too, so that hopefully even I can win this position. Okay, so good game, Pudsel. Let's see who else wants to play. C'est guidé. Enfin, ça, c'est une langue que je peux parler sans accent, ou sans un gros accent. Parce que mon espagnol, je parle pas, mais français, je peux parler. Alright, so bishop d7 is what I wanted in the repertoire, and to take with the knight. Which I quite like, but yeah, this I don't think makes sense for white at all. Because now I can comfortably play a dragon setup. In general, this dragon setup tends to be very good for black if he can get away with it. The only time it wouldn't be great is if white can play c3, d4, and obviously that's not how Guide here has set up his pieces. So this should be very comfortable for black. I'm just thinking how I want to proceed. Queen b6 seems fine. It's not like I'm better yet, but I do like my position. This bishop on g7 is going to be very, very good. Yeah, so it takes, and now let's start with e6. And this is just going to be a very good bishop. Sure, I don't think that will help much, so let's go rook fc8, and knight c4 is fine. I guess he can take it and then take f6 and knight e4, and it's not... No, then d2 hangs. So this, I think, is just bad news for white, no matter how he slices it. So he plays it that way, but my rook will be quite happy bringing the other one to c4. And this knight on c3 is like the big problem piece for white in the Sicilian. All the time, it just always gets hit, and it's always hard to deal with. And every endgame, it's just this one knight on c3 is just such a pain in the butt. So like here, for example, I can go rook c5, and he cannot defend this pawn on a5. That move, my big point was knight d5. So here, again, taking advantage of the knight on c3. If knight takes d5, I have bishop e5 and some winning. So I think I just went on the spot here. But even if I didn't have that move, like imagine I play knight d7 instead, and then I meet rook takes c5 with knight takes c5. Like the game is still just over. Like his knight on c3 is horribly misplaced. I guess he could play knight d1 there, but it's okay. Yeah, so basically I think that this knight takes d7, g6, bishop g7 works very, very well against d4, and white's best chance is to play c3, d4 instead. Alright, so let's say don't slip. I should just play with high-rated guys today, because if I keep playing like this and play with people with low ratings, I'm going to lose to them, and it's better to lose to somebody high-rated so that I don't... so that it's not as bad. All right, so what's the move order here? I think knight c6 is fine. Yeah, so we're going to get into classical Sicilian. He goes for bishop b5, which I don't think is a great move, but this line is actually very tricky. So they go queen d3, and what I came up with for the course was an interesting idea. So there's two ways white can play. The normal move is castle long here when I want to take on d4, and so sometimes what people are doing is playing bishop c6 first, so that white can play bishop c6 without castle, okay, so he does castle long, so take on d4, he should take on d7, and then, oh, so he takes that way, that's not great, now he's already slightly worse. He should have taken on d7. But yeah, here now already I think white should be careful not to become worse. Case in point, queen a5 and stuff is already hanging. In fact, I think white's just losing. That's a piece on g5. So yeah, you cannot... He really had to play bishop takes d7 there. If you play queen takes d4, bishop b5 in castle, white's already like... has to be very accurate not to just get crushed, and so this game ended very quickly. That's a pretty good advertisement for the upcoming course. Alright, let's play with Jup. This guy I always play with, and he always gives me a hard time. Alright, Jup, what you got for me? ¿Estás español? Sí. ¿Jugamos? Sí. Okay. Alright, so let's see. Okay, we got another Moscow Sicilian. We'll see if I can advertise this one as well. So here, knight gf6. Yeah, so rook e1, and his best plan, I think, is c3, d4. Yeah, so he knows that, and here black's supposed to leave these pawns. And the point is that if white ever moves his knight on b1, I'm going to take on d4. But I don't want to take on d4 voluntarily, because then his knight gets the c3 square. And here, I think black should be careful not to take on e5 directly, and should rather play knight e8. You don't really want the structure to change like that. If knight d5, there is c4. So yeah, here let's just go... I think probably taking with the bishop is fine, and then say knight takes c5. And black has a very comfortable position, I think, in this structure. Sure, so queen e2, let's just go queen c7. Actually, I had knight d3 there, didn't I? But maybe bishop g5. Alright, so now I'm very happy with knight f6, because he cannot play bishop g5. If knight c4, bishop f4 or something. Yeah, so this position's not particularly exciting. It's just boring and pretty much equal, but I don't mind that. I mean, we're black, so that's okay. So bishop e3, sure. Let's just go rook f d8. This is a really low-key game, but that's okay. All right, so b5. It is hard to play for a win with black in this position, of course, but I'll try. Just because we're playing Banter Blitz, and that's boring not to. Alright, so let's go g6. In a real game, I'd probably just make the draw there. I mean, you're black and the guy traded all the pieces, what can you do? But we're playing Banter Blitz, so let's keep the game going. Sure, so that wasn't thrilled by. Now my queen gets pretty good. At some point, having more pawns in front of the king can be pretty useful when it's queens and knights. They're usually pretty good attacking pieces. Alright, so he really wants the queens off. I suppose that's sensible enough, but if I give check and go knight d5, his queen doesn't have a great entry point, and now I'm starting to harass his stuff. Yeah, I actually think all of a sudden I'm just winning a pawn. Yeah, you have to... A big part of playing for a win against like really quiet openings like this is just being patient, and I mean the position just looked incredibly boring for like a long time, and then just sort of be patient and wait for something to happen. The first step, you should just be satisfied that you've equalized with black and not particularly worried if the position looks dry. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that humans are incredibly stupid creatures, and will always oblige you and make mistakes if you give them the time for it. Alright, so queen takes a2, and I don't see the point. My knight on d5 is really good, and his knight on f3 is not very good. Alright, so knight d4, let's take f2, I guess is fine. He cannot take on e6 because I have king g8, king g7, and block the check. c4, but now I should be able to go like knight e3 and mate him. Seems easy enough. And now check and queen is fine. Okay, so managed to get through that game all right. Let's play with Lego. I liked Legos when I was a kid, so let's play with you. Okay, Lego. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, made it just in time. Alright, so let's keep playing this classical Sicilian. Is Liv Tyler a famous person? Am I supposed to know that? I just thought that was your name. Alright, so we're finally in the in sort of a more mainline rouser, which is, I really think, by far the most challenging way for white to play. But let's but bishop e2. I really don't believe in white's. I think white can never be better against the classical Sicilian if he doesn't castle long. I think he just completely gives up any hope of even trying if he doesn't. So yeah, here I think things have gone well. I mean, he wants to castle long, I guess, but he has also lost a lot of time with bishop e2, f3, and if he plays e5, knight d7, takes on e7, f4 will lose even more time, and I have this nice big center, and yeah, okay, so, no, I didn't actually realize that this was an actress. I haven't seen Lord of the Rings. I liked Star Wars when I was a kid. I didn't do Lord of the Rings. But, okay, wait, e5 is a hanging pawn, yeah? Let's take it. Yeah, so now black's just up a very comfortable pawn with a nice big center, and that should be good. Alright, so g4, but void is a long way away from opening any lines, so I'm not particularly scared of any attack. Let's go queen b4 and start queenside hostilities. b3, maybe I just throw c5, c4, and blast open the king. It's always nice to attack with equal material as well, or pawn up in this case. Okay, I mean, there's no choice. You have to play b3. So let's go c5. And I'm ready for c4 next, and this king is going to get taken for a ride. Knight b1, sure. Let's just play c4 anyway. I'm totally content playing an endgame, so I don't think that's bothersome. And hang on, if f4, cb3, b2, and I'm good. So, yeah, Liv Tyler, I don't know. Now, if you want me to know you based on your acting, probably your best bet is to get onto like South Park. I don't watch Star Wars anymore. That was from when I was 9. Now I'm a much more cynical, horrible human being than I was when I was a kid. But yeah, here I'm up a lot of pawns, so this game should be routinely winning. Can't get on South Park because I'm not made out of paper. Rest assured, there's a lot of people who got onto South Park. Alright, rook f2, and let's finish this. Okay, bishop b5 looks like a nice finale. Yes, there is rook d2, and the game in theory continues, but not for very long. Okay, let's just be boring and take all the pawns. So h5, and now I have a small number of extra pawns. Let's get moving. So good game, Lego 94. Let's see. I did say I liked South Park, and I literally just saw Kyle Broflovsky in my challenges. Where is he? I don't see him for some reason anymore. But Liv Tyler wanted to play, and let's see, where is there Liv Tyler? Here's a lot of challenges. There we go. All right, Liv, let's play with you. Okay. Let's see what we got. Alright, so let's play this classical Sicilian and keep playing until... Oh, d3, that's a really aggressive move. Okay, so in general, I think if black can get the bishop to g7 without getting hit by c3, d4, he always just tends to be in good shape. Probably playing this pretty stupidly. I normally recommend putting the knight on e7 instead, but when white's knight is on f3, I find it much less offensive because one of the big points of putting the knight on e7 in connection with e6 is that you can, it's very hard for white to get f4, f5 through. All right, so here we're basically getting like a really good version of a normal mainline for white. In fact, I think this just wins a pawn. I take on d4, take with the bishop, I go e5 and knight e4, and I'm a pawn up. So that's already good news for me. But yeah, this just feels like white was forced. White should have, if they wanted a structure like this, should have just played an open Sicilian in the first place. Because here white lost some time on like d3, d4. All right, so let's push the majority and get it moving. Bishop h6, sure. But I think I'm a pretty healthy pawn up here. It's a little annoying though, the d file is pretty solid for white. But I think my bishop is better than white's bishop. So my king is not great. I don't know. All right, let's hit this queen and gain more space. Okay, it's just like queen e7. And here, if bishop f3, I'm ready for e4. I may just play e4 anyway. In fact, I probably could just, I don't know. I mean, f3 is what I was thinking is coming next. After that, f3, just hang on, wait. Is queen g5? There's f3 from white. Let's go f3. This really feels like it should be mate soon. If bishop f3, I think I can actually take with the rook. But then king h, I think it's better to just take with the bishop. If I took with the rook, white could go gf3, bishop f3, king h2, and then... Here I just think my rooks are just so good that it's better to have had the rooks on the board. Rook d2, sure. Let's go rook f5, cut that queen off, and threaten rook g5. Sure, let's go h5, kick the queen away, and feels like white should get mated pretty soon, but what do I know? All right, so queen g5, queen d6, queen f4 check, and rook g5 really feels like checkmate. I don't really feel like calculating. Let's just do it and find out. Maybe white can sort of keep fighting here, but queen d6, queen f4, this has to be mate. So check. Now how do I finish this off? So queen f3, we can go queen f3, king h2, rook g5, rook g1. It's actually not that easy. Can start with rook g5. Let's start with queen f3 check and then rook g5. I think I actually see mate. Yeah, queen f3 check and now rook g5, and then I believe I see mate. So if rook g1, my whole point is I can go... That's not going to work. My king goes to h6 and the rooks are defended. But my point was if rook g1, I think I can go rook ff5 and that white is mated then. Yeah, so I think rook ff5 is good enough now. But wait, rook ff5, queen d8 is actually annoying. So maybe we should start by taking this one and then go rook f5. That should do it. Still queen d8 though. h4. Check. Yeah, I'm probably not going to mate anymore. I just have to win slowly. Or did I just blunder mate myself with rook d8? Probably not. Check. Run with the king. Check. Check. Yeah, this got a lot messier than I was hoping, but I still think I have it under control. So queen f1 check. Rook f2 check, queen b5 check, and I will hopefully be able to win this. But even this, not easy. Okay, yeah, it's easy. Check, and then on king b5 I had queen a5, queen c5 at bare minimum, forcing an endgame. So, I don't know. I probably was way too rash that game, but I got there. Let's play with the Dark Knight. Alright, I'll keep playing the chessable repertoire. I've always been impartial to Captain America, but Dark Knight I guess I can tolerate. So... Knight c6, what the heck? I don't understand, I'm not going to try to figure it out. This knight on c6 is horrible. Okay, so take this. Guess now the knight gets fixed. Oh well, that's fine. So this is just a typical Queen's Gambit. It's probably a little bit more comfortable for white. Nothing too special. So let's go rook a1. And now I think I can play c5. That's one nice thing, is this knight on e7 does a very bad job of pressuring the pawn once it gets to c5. And this bishop on b7 is not very good. So why am I not playing the Champions Tour? Because I missed qualifying by half a point and I didn't get a wild card. I mean, I was delighted to play the last one, but I finished half a point behind where I needed to be playing this next one. Hopefully I'll be able to play another one sometime. But yeah, this just looks bad for black because the C file is sort of an open file, but I'm the one who gets to choose when it opens. So I can just put my pieces on it, and black will not be able to, like, basically, if I had taken on b6, black could go like rook c8, rook c7, other rook to c8. But because I haven't taken on b6, he cannot go rook c8, rook c7. He's just got to wait with a rook on c8. And so then I can go rook fc1. And I can wait to open the c file until I've piled up on it, and black has not. And so, okay, black instead did this, but now it's just over. I don't know, guys. People seem to, yeah, guys, people who are praising my bantering, thanks, I really appreciate it. People seem to like my Banter Blitz and hate my commentary, so I guess I should just not commentate and play Banter Blitz instead. But yeah, here I'm a pretty clean pawn up. I don't know, guys. Okay, fine. Some people like my commentary, but there's enough people out there who find it worth their time to go fill out the contact form on my website with hostile messages every time I come on telling me how horrible I am, so that doesn't happen with Banter Blitz. Let's play with Sono Bloom. I guess that's Sunflower, I think somebody told me. Alright, Sono Bloom. What you got for me? Alright, so let's just play the way my chessable repertoire goes. I'll just spam it in the chat once more in case people want to take a look at it. So bishop d6 is sort of a weird move order, but it's okay. I think it will likely transpose. So knight bd7 now. Sure, so b3. And then if I can remember what goes on here, I think I wanted rook c1 first, with the plan to sometimes end up playing rook c2 and then rook d2. So oh no, it was actually bishop d3 I wanted first and then rook c1, but that's okay. It's basically the same thing. So here the point is, I'm not thrilled about having to spend 2 tempi on getting the bishop to d3, but I didn't really have a choice because of various tactical points. But here, I think I have a pretty nice position because it's actually hard for black to break with c5 without getting a somewhat dubious pawn structure. Yeah, if people are whining about Peter and Tanya, then they can just go to hell. Like, Peter and Tanya are awesome. I know them both. They're lovely people and very good chess players. Like, yeah, so he goes for c5, but now the point is, I think that black will probably have to take back with the pawn on d5, which he's not thrilled about, because if he plays knight takes d5, I can go knight takes d5, bishop d5, e4, and then bishop b5. So yeah, here the point is now after bishop b7, bishop b5 is actually an incredibly annoying move for black to deal with. Like already DC5 is like a tremendous threat. And if black in this whole setup, I think, does a very good job of stopping black from playing c5, and as a result, I think white tends to be a little bit better in these positions. So here, there's lots of tempting moves. I guess probably just, maybe I'll just keep it simple. Take this one and play d5 is good enough. For some advantage, I don't know, maybe I could be more ambitious, but this seems fine with me. He must take this pawn now, I believe. Oh, he doesn't want it. But now don't I get e5 and d6? That seems pretty good. Okay, so f6, but I don't believe this. A typical plan in this structure is to play rook c2, rook d2 anyway, because the rook is very good on the... Like, one of the main points of this line is normally white goes queen c2, rook d1, but I find that the queen is vulnerable on the c-file, and I actually almost prefer rook c1, rook c2, rook d2 to get the rook to the d-file without this issue. Alright, so let's go knight takes e5, and this passed pawn should be extremely powerful. Yeah, so he probably has to play queen d7 sooner or later, and then the queen is a very bad blockader because it's such a powerful piece and would like to be doing something more useful. So here, I guess I should be a little bit cautious that rook d8 could come. Let's start with queen g4. I don't believe he can take it because of rook d1. And now, as I wrote about in Small Steps 2, when you have a far advanced passed pawn in the middle game, usually the best way to push it through is to attack the opponent's king, make completely unrelated threats against the king, and then their pieces will find themselves overworked while trying to save from the direct attack as well as from the passed pawn. So that, I believe, just loses to rook d1. But if black had played like rook d8 or something instead, and I went rook d1 and then just started throwing h4, h5, rook d3, rook g3, I think that the position would just be very bad for black because it'd be very hard for black to defend the king while also paying attention to the passed pawn. That's something that I think it's a point of chess knowledge that I don't think has been taken seriously enough. All right, so good game, Sono Bloom. Let's, who else wants to play? Chess Beast Austria, let's play with you. All right, continue playing the repertoire. So d4, knight f6, c4. What we're gonna do? Knight c3, bishop g7. Alright, so against the King's Indian, if I recall, I recommended the Gligorich with bishop e2, bishop e3. We'll see if I can remotely remember what I'm doing. Yeah, so here, let's just go bishop e3 just to keep it simple. Probably you can castle instead and meet e5 with bishop e3 as well, but this is fine. If knight g4, bishop g5. Okay, so c5 I don't really understand. This just seems like you want to get into the world's worst Benoni because you cannot play e6. So yeah, guys, if you want to like learn about chess or talk about chess, my Banter Blitz, my Chessable courses, these are great places to go. If you want like big reactions and people yelling and screaming and stuff, I'm sure you're aware of other places you can go to for that. Yeah, so knight e5 is not great because now I'm going to take on c5. This is a pawn up and black has no counterplay and this is absolutely over. Did not get the typical King's Indian kind of play that black was looking forward to in most of these lines. Sure, so bishop b6. I've got all the squares and it's absolutely lost for black. All right, keep on pushing. I don't know, maybe I've just marooned my own bishop on b6 for no reason, but he's insisting that I push my pawns this far, so it would be rude not to. Let's play b4 and start getting ready for b5. And black is black like in Zugzwang already? I mean, he literally can't move a single piece. Yeah, this is like basically Zugzwang or stalemate or whatever you want to call it. h5, sure. Let's go b5. Alright, I guess let's just go queen d3 and keep bringing more pieces so I can go rook fc1. So sure, rook fc1, and at some point I can throw c6, but this whole king h7, rook h8 doesn't scare me very much. That's actually a good question. Who's my favorite past chess player? Definitely Garry Kasparov. For the longest time, I was unwilling to admit that Magnus was the best player who ever lived. I was a Kasparov fanboy for as long as you could possibly imagine, or anybody could realistically say so. I loved that he was just such a fighter. There's something I appreciate about him now that I didn't when I was younger, which was just how hard it is to keep playing incredibly sharp games, very sharp openings, the most forcing lines when you get older against guys so much younger than you. And Kasparov just did it and kept on winning and winning and winning. And he never made any quick draws. He was the one. He was my hero. So I have not that many regrets. I certainly have regrets in my life. We all do. But I don't have that many. One of them is that I never got to play with him. He's played in some like sort of even just like these sort of silly exhibition style Fischer random stuff. I mean, I can't begin to express how much I would love to play with Garry in any kind of capacity. It's something I would really appreciate. All right, so it looks like Oscar Shales is playing my own repertoire against me. That's not very nice. Let's see if he remembers how it goes, or if he just did this on his own without my having anything to do with it. Yeah, so he's playing this repertoire exactly the way I gave it so far. Which will make it somewhat hard for me to get a decent position, I guess, but let's see. Queen c2, but this is not great. This is well, it's fine. It just transposes back to the normal line, but I remembered thinking that I liked bishop d3 more than queen c2 in this position. All right, so I'm still playing my trustable repertoire. cd5 I don't think is great. Normally, let's just take with the c-pawn. I think that's pretty the normal response. And his queen on c2 now just sort of feels bad. The position's a bit boring, but that's okay. So here, and now it's a pretty dry position, but it's okay. Knight b5 with bishop a3 was not nasty? I don't think so. I could have gotten the rook to c8. Yeah, so this position is exceptionally dry and boring, but that's how it goes sometimes. I will just be patient and hopefully show how you win a dry, boring position. Be careful what you wish for, dangerous ride. Okay, so a4 I think is a really bad move because now I can play b4 and now his knight ends up on a very bad square. So I was always sort of looking to play b4, but I couldn't because his knight would get to a4, and now his knight is really bad on a2. So I just have to figure out how to organize my pieces, but he's sort of begging for e5. So I'm going to open the game like this and sort of hope that the knight on a2 will be misplaced once the position has opened up a bit. This may not be the smartest thing I've ever done, but that's okay. So yeah, I want to keep the pieces on the board and just sort of start throwing knight g4 and playing attacking chess and say your knight on a2 and your queen on b1 will not be very useful defensive pieces. All right, so let's go. Yeah, let's go knight g4 and start attacking. I'm very tempted to sacrifice on f2 if he plays h3. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't work, but knight takes f2, knight e4 check, knight g3, just all the pieces coming in, and okay, so rook c6. I don't get it. I'm gonna go knight e4 and start throwing stuff at f2. Yeah, so basically, as soon as this knight ended up on a2, it really sort of prompted me to start playing aggressive chess. I mean, like, this position, if white's knight is on, like, d3 or somewhere, like, intelligent, I think I might just be worse. But with that knight so far sidelined, it's bad news. All right, so this is not how chess works. Knight takes f2 looks absolutely devastating. But let me just think. Knight f2. Yeah, let's do it. This has to be utterly crushing. Okay, so queen takes d4 is the easiest, or queen takes e3 certainly seems easy enough. I mean, I'm sure there's probably something better, but this is definitely enough to do the job. And white's king ended up all alone. And so I'm not much of an attacking player, but I made it happen. Okay, so the easiest now is certainly to just grab that bishop on e2. I'm just wondering if I can mate. Knight h3 check, he has to play king f1. And I don't see mate. So let's just take the bishop. Oh, I didn't even realize I was hanging there. Okay, let's go bishop f5 and bring more pieces into the attack. I've probably just played this game horribly as well, but... Okay, so I don't believe that. Let's take this one, and take this one, and now check and mate. Alright, so good game, Oscar Shells. Looks like I have time for one more quick one. I'll find a 3-minute game, and... Alright, DeRoche, you have the honor of being the last one. Let's go, DeRoche, we believe in you. I have mouse slipped, so I have to play the London system now. I wanted to play c4, but I mouse slipped. Alright. But I think I have a pretty good London system already. Alright, so, yeah, I think the problem for black here is that the bishop on g7 is just worse than the bishop on f4. And in a structure like this one, he would much rather have his pawn back on d6 so that he could play for e5. More in the style of the King's Indian. So here, let's start with queen c2, and maybe I'll play c4 next. Yeah, why not? Let's go c4. Yeah, so at the end of this, as he should probably try to get c5 in. So here I should be careful. If I take with the knight, he plays c5, and then I think black is very much fine. So I should take with the queen instead and not let him play c5. But he's doing the right thing with knight e6 to try to get c5 through, but I think I can have it under control. So let's go rook fd1, and then duck this queen back to c2. If he plays c5 now, I'm ready with knight c4, which should cause some trouble. So yeah, let's go knight c4. And black's queen is a little short on squares. It's not that bad, but the problem now for black is that I will always be ready to mate c5 with d5. And I have evacuated the long diagonal, so I don't think I'm too worried about his bishop waking up. So here, should be good to go. Yeah, so there I thought I could play d6, and black's position is falling apart. So rook takes d6, and if queen b5, just knight b6 is easy enough, or rook b6, rook b7. If queen a7, there is knight b6. So, yeah, so here rook b6, and then queen d7 should be able to just win everything, but if I go rook d1, knight d5 is annoying. So after queen b7, maybe I will just take on b7, but yeah, so here I thought knight d6, and man, I think I managed a clean sheet today, even if I was just an absolute jerk and flagged that one guy who was also a jerk by playing h6 g5. But, yeah. All right, good game, DeRoach. You have a lot to learn. Clearly, if you've ever taken any lessons from anybody, you must have had a terrible coach. But yeah, good games to everybody. This was fun, and yeah, I look forward to playing this again sometime.